CFL Betting Blueprint Week 6 live on X and posted, of course, as always, to the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Thank you for all of you guys watching throughout the season so far, for all of you guys that are new to us. We hop on every single Tuesday live on X, usually posted Tuesday night to Wednesday morning on the WagerTalk YouTube channel, myself, Andrew, and Bobby. And we look at the CFL opening lines, give you guys some tips on where we think these numbers are going to go. I had kind of a rough back-to-back weeks and had a much-needed 5-1 bounce back. And it always sounds funny to say there's 4 games and I had a 5-1 week in the CFL. But I told myself this year, Bobby, I wasn't going to hesitate. I was going to fire. And, well, for 2 weeks, didn't look great. But finally had that big weekend I needed.
Yeah, it's I find we're doing. There's a lot more action, at least this year in the CFL. I think after years of realizing how easy it is to beat, we've kind of let down our guard a bit and fired on a bit more. So, I'm 11-9 to start the year here, but up almost 2.5 units, mainly for, if you're betting on the Redblacks, limit your bets and sprinkle on those dogs, because 2 more came in this weekend and a big one in Calgary. So I've taken some risks as well. 3 attempts to middle games. That hasn't hit yet, but overall I'm pretty happy with where I'm at. Won't see as many middle opportunities with fewer questions at quarterback. But when news breaks, you got an hour to attack. And I've got a printer going here. I don't know if you can hear that.
There we go.
Perfect timing to start printing stuff. In the house.
Bad timing for me to have my mic mess up on the first intro there. Does this sound much better, Bobby, to you?
Sounds the same to me, so we'll find out the hard way.
Yeah, it should sound a bit better. I was using my webcam mic, but regardless, guys, usually it's a 4-game slate in the CFL, but no, this week we've got a 3-game slate to look at here. So this is not an error. This is not the sports books being late to post here, guys. 3 games: Stampeders, Roughriders, Redblacks, Ticats, BC Lions, and the Edmonton Elks will go head to head here. Highest total on the board, 53.5. Lowest total on the board, 50.5, as we saw some high scoring games. And as Ian Cameron was telling us in our group chat, we have the 3 of us. The overs are dominating so far. You're making money if you bet the over in every game so far. We'll see if the law of averages kind of settled down a little bit. Bobby, I was going to do some updating based on what we talked about last Tuesday, but there's no need to, because, well, it remains the same. Every single team that has won a game has covered the point spread. Very interesting to see when that will start to break. And then once it does, it'll break for good and we can start making some money on it. But some of these games, including the first one that we have here, to waste very little time, there will have to be a trend broken, because Saskatchewan 4-0 ATS, 4-0 straight up, 4-0 or 2-0 ATS at home. And looking at this Calgary team, well, they are a perfect 3-0 ATS as an underdog. So I will admit when I'm right, admit when I'm wrong, and I was wrong about this Calgary team. I was happy to have a 2-0 performance with them in week 5, but Calgary's been better than we thought they might have been. And I'll speak for myself, but I was kind of down on Calgary. So when you look at this game here and you see Calgary off that win that they had against Winnipeg, not only did they win, like they won in strong fashion. How do you feel about this one, Saskatchewan coming off their bye?
I think these riders got this bye just in time, and like looking at this practice report, it still doesn't look like they're getting any receivers back. The O-line's still concerned. There's a few other injuries kind of scattered throughout that shouldn't hinder them too much, but it's always something. Like they're one injury away from having more clusters. But it's a good time for them to have that bye. And I don't want to call you out as being a liar this early in the show, but I would argue that nobody's been higher on the Stamps than us. I was driving home from Vancouver Curling Club on a Tuesday night in November, and I hear you talking with Gabe 30-1 on the Stamps, and we've both had that in our pocket for about 9 months now. I think it should be past its due date, but we still got 4 more to go. Now they're down to 8-1. There's no real value there, but I've been happy with the Stamps so far. I've backed them every game, like you said. They were 3-1 against the spread. They were underdogs. At least they opened as an underdog in that rain game against Ottawa, and that was a crazy game to lose anyway. When the passing game's basically eliminated, then Ottawa's got a chance to win, I guess, right? So, as high as we've been on these Stamps, I think this might be the time to pump the brakes, and I don't want to go against them. Like, I think this line is kind of right where it should be. Saskatchewan off a bye weeks do mean something in the CFL. And like this home field's only going to get better as the summer rolls on, and Saskatchewan has their traditional hot start and then lose every game after Labor Day.
Well, Bobby, you want to talk about scheduling spots, because the thing is about a small league like the CFL. I always hear people analyzing the NFL schedule when it gets dropped. Like, people are already like setting up sandwich spots and situational betting spots, but in the CFL, with just 9 teams, you can look at it as well of certain spots, whether it be letdown or travel or what have you. And now we're getting to that spot here, week 6. Calgary had Winnipeg last week, outright wins. Saskatchewan now off a bye. They play them on the road. And then next week, they're playing Winnipeg again, and Winnipeg will be off a bye.
Yeah, they've got a bad stretch here. I think they're playing Winnipeg 3 out of 4 weeks or something, and Winnipeg's got this like back-to-back teams happening a few times this year, and I think both of the times they, at least BC in Calgary's case, they get a bye before these back-to-backs. So it's a super weird schedule. I'm the last guy in the world who's going to criticize a schedule maker in the CFL just because I was able to take advantage of it and showboat for one summer. But I don't know if there's that many spots. Like, the short week kind of doesn't exist this week. And like, as long as you're accounting for the bye, which usually, like, next week we're going to be looking at 2 teams off a bye playing each other, it's kind of eliminated too. So I don't know if the situational spots are as severe as they are in the NFL.
Yeah, I think that again, it's an example of 2 streaks going head to head. Like, a great ATS underdog team versus just a team that's been a covering machine. AJ Ouellette's been a guy that I've talked up quite a bit over the years, and Saskatchewan, with having them 7-1 in my pocket, I feel like I haven't been on them enough this season. That's always the worst feeling. But there's times where you want to be a contrarian, and there's times where you kind of want to just go with the hot team. And I do think that the bye week in the CFL matters because with how many injuries take place in this league overall, I know you were talking about an update on the injury report and stuff, but how many injuries go on in this league with, I would argue off the top of my head, Saskatchewan's got to be one of the more veteran-built teams. So just looking at that bye week, how that can help them, and I think back to a couple of years ago, the Boston Bruins in the NHL, they had they broke the record for regular season points. And Bobby, I barely was on them, because I kept on thinking I missed the train, right? I kept on thinking that I was like, oh, it's too late now. The Bruins were laying like $1.85 every single game, no matter who they were playing. They were so pricey. And when I look at this big win the Stamps are off of against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, the fact that I was able to cash not 1 but 2 tickets on them, Saskatchewan at home, off the bye, the 4.5 number. They've scored 31, 28, 39, and 37 in their 4 games so far. The team totals have treated me well so far. Hell, I got lucky with a late game drive. I was actually working on editing a video before we came on live today, talking about that last minute drive the Redblacks put together for me to hit that team total. I feel like Saskatchewan's team total might be in play here. If we're asking them to get to 26, 27, 28, that 27 number seems to be a key number for these team totals, with the -4.5, with the 51.5 as the total. That's probably what I'll be looking at here. Calgary's been a great ATS underdog team. We can't talk about it enough. But I don't see why Saskatchewan can't roll on. I was saying to Ian Cameron, hey, it kind of sketches me out a bit because obviously this team's not going to stay undefeated forever. But at the very same time, if I don't play them here, I'm going to be thinking again, wow, this team is now 5-0, 5-0 ATS, and I've barely been on them. And that's a tough feeling, right?
Yeah, they're definitely, like, I don't know. If you talk to the media, they're the best team in the league. But like, they're definitely a top 3 team. They're good to tail. It's a great situation for them. I just think that Calgary isn't as bad as people have thought, and like I've got to be off this. I think that Calgary defense is still. Maybe it's just because they were so bad last year that it seems like night and day with them right now. But I think there was some stat flown around that they hadn't give up a touchdown in the first 3 quarters or something like that. Helps when you play Ottawa. Helps when you play in the sideways rain. But defense is still a lot better for the Stamps this year. And I don't know. I'm not the total guy, but even there's some other games on this card that I think even I probably would bite on the total, no matter how high it shoots up.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Look, call me a Calgary hater, but I made money on them last week. But one thing we can also argue, and I guess maybe the same thing could be said for Saskatchewan this week, but didn't Winnipeg look pretty perfect to start the season off? And
they had plenty of rest. Like, they got to play BC Lions back to back, but like even Chris Streveler looked good, and that's something you don't see. So I think this was just a letdown game for the Bombers, and they get another bye already to kind of regroup. So I'm not too worried about them, considering like the slump they were in at the beginning of last year. But yeah, it was a very impressive win. We were both on the Stamps, and even I was surprised how well they played last weekend.
Well, a bye week can either motivate a team or disrupt the momentum, and I don't think there's going to be any disruption of momentum with the Riders. But I said last week on the show that because I was in a small slump, that I was going to play it kind of game to game and day to day. And what I was able to do, the only thing that ended up backfiring for me out of the strategy was not jumping in on +1.5 Hamilton, and I took +4.5 Toronto. And that might be the most CFL betting sentence you could ever say, because you won't see that in any other pro football league, right? That's why we love betting the CFL. But obviously the initial gut lean was right. But sometimes, and you've talked about it, with the money coming in on game day or overnight, whether it's limits or whether it's people just waiting until game day. Look, not a lot of people, let's be real here, are betting CFL games 5 days out. It's just not happening, right? They care about it, not as much as us. So they're waiting until the game day so we can kind of react, because we have 2 4.5s, right? This week, 2 4.5s and a 3.5. So we're going to see some movement. Our job is just to figure out a way to find out how we want to react to it. Redblacks at Ticats. I mean, this is giving flashbacks to Redblacks at Elks, where give us a 60.5 as the total, and we're still pretty tempted to do so. If any books let you bet props, you probably want to get involved in props in this game. But Bo Levi, 332 yards, 5 passing touchdowns, no interceptions, average length of a pass, 13.8 yards, longest 79 yards against the Ticats. Kenny Lawler, 3 touchdowns, 7 targets, 6 receptions, 207 yards. Didn't really need anybody else. Tim White, 30 yards. Keandre Smith, 28. Overall, your thoughts on Hamilton? I mean, clearly they were the right side. They played very, very well. The only thing I would say when I was watching with an Argos ticket in my hand was like, man, give up, besides those big plays. Like, if you look at it, 207 for one player, and then 30, 28, 22, and 19 for the players before that. Like, I don't know, but your thoughts here on Hamilton. Is this the Hamilton that they've been waiting to see as far as the offensive ability, or was that just kind of like they just took a beating, or they just beat down Toronto?
I think this is kind of the Hamilton that we've thought should be there for at least the last year. And like, their season was kind of over early last season, so we didn't really pay too much attention to their run at the end of the year. But they even got better adding Kenny Lawler. Like, those are Kenny Lawler plays, right? So those are, like, this Hamilton team is kind of what everybody expected them to be. And they're finally kind of living up to it. Defense still terrible. but like now they got the Redblacks. I think this is another one. Like basically every matchup in the East is a coaching mismatch for the Redblacks. Milanovic isn't likely to make bad decisions. We've seen how Ottawa goes up against Montreal, Toronto. Like it's just not even close. So, like you said, that number on Hamilton last week was just the wrong number. Like they shouldn't have been a slight dog or even a money line against a backup Nick Arbuckle. I was quick to jump on Hamilton last week, but I think now we've kind of overreacted a little bit too. So, unfortunately for me, that means like this is likely going to be Ottawa or nothing. And if it is Ottawa, it's going to be like a half limit. I still have faith in Drew Brown. I just don't have faith in anybody else. Anybody else around them wearing red and black on that field. So, I think the more important thing is what you've touched on already is this total. Like, is it 50, 53 and a half? Like, is this the biggest opener we've seen this season? Is this like the totals go this high usually? You've got like a Ticats defense that is almost as bad as their offense is good. And then you've got Ottawa that just goes out and plays, doesn't look at the scoreboard, doesn't look at the clock. They can put up points, they can give up points. So I think this seems like, I was joking with you and Ian, like, does this open at like 78 or something like that? So even though this number is juiced up, I don't want to go against it. I'd be happy to be on a 53 and a half. So I think that'd be like a little side bet for me. Nothing too serious. I'll leave that to the pros. But it's hard to ignore when you look at these teams and you see how these totals have gone over. Even Edmonton and Ottawa can put up a ton of points, as we just saw.
Well, look, we're going to talk about them in a second, but whenever we were smack talking our guy Trey Ford, I was always telling you, hey, we can't always go at this guy if the defense is giving up 30-plus points a game. And then now they were just able to play a Redblacks team that gives up, X amount of points themselves, 39 points, that it didn't even matter how many they gave up. I had that garbage time TD, 33 points for Ottawa wasn't enough. And in the CFL, I don't care what it is. If you told me the Redblacks scored 33, I was like, okay, yeah, cool. I'll take the money line on the Redblacks. So hats off to you for hitting the Elks. And then in the same game, I was able to hit the Redblacks team total. So you got to love that. But, looking at just being a scoreboard watcher here, being a box score guy, there were a lot of guys that caught the ball. And I'm a big fan of distribution, especially when it comes to the CFL. We got 10 targets, 6, 4, 4, 10, 5, and 3. So Justin Hardy with 10 targets. The fact that he only came down with 5 of those, a little bit concerning. But, I mean, a lot of targets, a lot of guys. Eugene Lewis, he got utilized. You talk about the OC, you talk about Bob Dice going into halftime with a timeout to his name and just didn't use it. I mean, we can talk about so many different things, but at the end of the day, Ottawa loses to the worst team in the league. Hamilton beats the shit out of Toronto, puts up a 50 burger. Now they're back at home laying 4.5. That 4.5 number is kind of a respectful number towards Hamilton. It's like, because if it was 3.5, then who knows? But I got to play Redblacks or pass from where I'm sitting right now. From where I'm sitting, I respect how Hamilton plays at home, and I get it. And man, their offense looked good. Their offense looked like nobody could stop them. Toronto looked frustrated out there. But we're talking about an interception. We're talking about a huge punt return. We're talking about 2 or 3 like 40 or 50-yard bombs from Bo Levi to Kenny Lawler. I'm not making excuses, but sure, they drove the field without that stuff, but that 50 spot could have easily have been like, 30-something points if it wasn't just so exaggerated. So, I don't know. Hamilton's a team I like at pick or plus. I don't really like them laying. You know what I mean? They're just not one of those teams I like laying 4.5. The only thing is, though, I keep on bringing up those numbers about straight up and ATS, Bobby. If we take the plus 4.5 based on current events, we're asking Ottawa to win this game.
Yeah, I still don't think. Have we had a game where the favorite wins but doesn't cover?
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was reading out. It's every single team so far.
Yeah, I think that the only one that would have been that Saskatchewan Toronto game that they lost on the last play on the kickoff, right? But like eventually these are going to happen. Like statistically, they're going to come back. So I don't know. I think this number is I think it's kind of like you can't read into too much to these wins because like they're against a Nick Arbuckle Toronto, or a loss against a Trey Ford finally starts playing, but like Ottawa, they had a lot of bad bounces go against them in that game too. So there's a clear like top and bottom in this league, I think, and maybe not. I think Hamilton's kind of right in the middle. You can't really decide. So I don't know. It's just that Redblacks number looks big. Drew Brown is good. The O-line is probably going to get a little healthier, and that was a big problem for him in Edmonton. The Edmonton D-line started, like they're all pretty much new guys working together, right? So that Edmonton D-line looked good. Drew Brown was under pressure the whole time. That's only going to get better. Like they've had a pretty banged up injury report. And they also have a very well organized injury report. It's the only team that organizes by position, easy to keep track of. So I'll give them credit for that.
Credit when credit's due for the injury report. 26, and I've been looking at first halves quite a bit. I like looking at that stuff. I think sometimes, you can kind of use what the numbers are, what the openers are, and kind of see where it's going here. I almost would prefer this to be a plus because I think it's a little more contrarian when it's that way. But typically with some of these totals, we get 23, 24.5 for the first half. Bobby, this is 26.5. And I'm not saying that we haven't had a lot of the first halves go over and the full game go under, but I always talk about some of these first halves, the numbers being just so different. And Jeff, who I do shows with, like he'll pick apart these like MLB totals in the first half and just be like, when's the last time we saw 6.5 in the first half, or just something wild, right? First 5 innings. Kind of reminds me of this one, but the only thing I don't like is that it's minus 115 to the over. It's not like they're trying to bait us into playing the under here. They almost want us to play the over 26.5, but that's a hell of a lot of points to get to. 27 points in the first half they're asking us to get to.
Especially when Bob Dice isn't going to use his timeouts in the first half, or his one timeout.
Yeah. Plus 2.5, plus 100, minus 2.5, minus 120 is the number. As it stands right now, it's Ottawa or pass for me. Do you recommend people jump in on Ottawa now if they like it, or probably not too much movement for the next few days?
I think you can go another point. Like I don't think money's going to be coming in on Ottawa. Like even we're kind of uneasy talking about it too. And even if I do bet it, it's only going to be a half unit because it's Ottawa. I still have no faith in them. We're almost going on a full year since that Labor Day game where I swore off them. So I think it's Ottawa or pass. And yeah, that first half total, there's so much garbage points that goes up. That's a Bo Levi like almost won MOP last year because of the garbage time. And those last 3 minutes could take forever, and you could get 20, 21, 24 points in those last 3 minutes of a CFL game. So the second half 3-minute warning is a lot different than the first. And you've got Ottawa that doesn't care in the last 3 minutes of the first half, as we just saw.
The good news about FanDuel Canada being one of the big sponsors of the CFL and TSN, I believe, there's a lot of odds out for everything, like player props and all this different stuff early on at FanDuel. 24.5 is the number for the team total, shaded to the under for the Redblacks.
That's
if I can introduce you to the world of team totals, Bobby, I think asking
that would be one.
This is the number, right? Because this is the thing, and I always give credit to Jeff because he's the team totals guy, and I mostly used to just do them in NHL. But 24.5, right? Because they'd love for it to be 23.5, and then that's a football number, right? Get you over 23.5, get 24. When it's 24.5, I like those. It's the same thing with me getting the Redblacks over 27.5 last week. A lot of people would be on those 26.5. I want to get the lower number. So FanDuel current price minus 108, team total over 24.5. Lock me in. I think I'll be involved in that. That's giving me vibes to last week's game against the Elks. It's like I'm pretty confident that if the Redblacks cover this 4.5 number, they probably get 25 points.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's a great number for the Redblacks against a Hamilton team that can't stop anything, can't stop Nick Arbuckle. So,
And you know what? I'll say this to people that are watching that are interested in jumping in on my plays or tailing Bobby or whoever. If you can't bet team totals, take the full game over. Reach out to me, see what I think. Maybe you'll go half a unit less or whatever it may be. But if you can't bet that, or you can take the side. You can take the side. But a lot of times, we have no problem giving credit to different people. Bobby, like Ian has been smacking the team total on both teams in the same game in some of these games, right? So if you like the over, you can jump team totals and all that good stuff. All right. Because it was a good week, we've got a good code that expires tonight at midnight. CFL 100 takes $100 off the full season. This is officially, people are calling it the dog days, because baseball all-star break is going to be next week. If you guys want to jump in, week 6 in the CFL, Bobby and I have had a good chance to get to know some of these teams. Off to a winning start, hoping to keep the momentum going. 5-1 last weekend. CFL 100 takes $100 off my CFL package. That takes you all the way to the Grey Cup. And the best part about this is when NFL gets going, when college football gets going, hell, when NHL gets back going again, Bobby, this is a damn long season. CFL is a long season. So when you guys are betting other sports, you sign up for my CFL. You're still going to be getting some CFL picks from me, even though you're distracted by other sports. We're going to still make money through the fall and then into even the colder months as well. So CFL 100, that promo code expires at midnight. Guys, forget about buying daily in CFL. We keep talking about it. You will not find any other league that has 4 or 5 point swings. It's just, I'm not even trying to sell you guys on it, because it actually benefits me if people buy daily. But if you're trying to handicap the CFL, you're better off getting an all access. When I like a play, I'll send it right to you guys, and you guys can jump in and join me. All right, the last game, it's all yours, Bobby. Give us your thoughts here. Overall opening numbers, your Lions at the Elks.
Okay, well, Edmonton got to beat up on a team that doesn't really care about winning. But even then, they're playing the Redblacks at home. Lots of optimism. Well, no, there wasn't lots of optimism. I don't know one fan on either side that was excited or confident about this game. And even Edmonton themselves, they were so unsure that they actually scripted 2 quarterbacks to play this game. And I'm the ultimate why is Trey Ford on the field guy. I don't think either time was the time for Cody Fajardo to get out there. So they actually ran out Cody Fajardo for 2 planned series, and I hope they're planned, because I would never accuse Fajardo of complaining or anything like that, causing a stir while backup quarterback has his job. Not like he did in Saskatchewan or Montreal, but I'd just be it was just a weird spot, and it didn't make any sense. And if anybody, if I was a blind Trey Ford hater, I'd say, well, come on, is there any reason to get him out? But no, there wasn't a reason to get him out. He wasn't playing that bad at the time. They were up big. The momentum was in their way. And he had one really good pass. The rest were all kind of dink and dunks that ran for 40 yards after the catch sort of thing. But hey, people are saying Trey Ford is good again, or good for the first time. National media backing him, saying Edmonton is back. And if this was serious, then it'd be something that we could kind of attack the other way. I would be happy to bet against the worst team in the league, but the books haven't adjusted for that. The books still don't believe in Edmonton. I'm not a really big believer in Edmonton. I still think they're the worst team in the league. But you're giving the Lions 3.5 on the road. Nothing's really interesting me at that number right now, but if it gets any higher, it's going to be Edmonton again for me. And these are the bets that you love to hate. And those are the ones that are the most satisfying when they come in like yesterday. So BC favored 3.5 on the road. I don't really know why. Some people were saying this was the worst team in the league. less than a week ago, right? So you don't need to overreact to this kind of stuff. I think the Lions still need to prove themselves. A lot had to go right for them to get that win in Montreal. Getting a win in Montreal is a big deal. But if Montreal had first and 10 with a minute and 20 left on the BC 20-yard line, why not just run 3 plays, run it into the end zone, right? That would be the end of the game for the Lions there. If Pierre-Olivier Lestage doesn't punch a guy after a field goal, Lions probably don't get into field goal range. If the Lions don't somehow miraculously make this 2.8 second 13-yard play, that was a Bob Dice level decision there that they completely got away with. I don't know why they were running a play with 3 seconds left on the clock. And then Sean White, he had to make that field goal too. So a lot of things had to go right for the Lions. And that was just to beat a Alouettes team with McLeod Bethel Thompson that did play a little better, but still isn't where he was last year. Plenty of teams would be happy to have him as their number one on the bench. But a lot of things had to go right for the Lions, and even Ottawa was laying 2-3 points on the road last week. Didn't seem right, and I don't think the BC Lions are much better than the Redblacks. I think they're kind of a middle of the road team in this league, and you shouldn't be laying 3.5 on the road against anyone, even if it is the Redblacks. Even if it is against the Elks. So I think it's going to be Elks for me if this gets any higher, but I'm more than happy to stay away from it too. So nothing's nicer than not having an Elks ticket on game day.
Well, we talked about, these numbers are going to move, right? These numbers are going to move. We're doing this show on Tuesday. It gets posted to WagerTalk TV, usually at night or Wednesday morning. We're live on X right now, but these numbers will move. And we said the same thing last Tuesday, and they definitely moved by game day. So we'll see what happens with these. Maybe we'll post a screenshot or something later in the week once all the movement's taken place and things like that. I got to shout out Darsh Singh, because he was protecting his boys. He said, hey, BC, watch out, man. They got a good pass defense. Because I was saying how they're bottom of the barrel with the run, and then you chimed in and you're like, yeah, Andrew's trying to get me to talk bad about the coach too. So I love that. Shout out to Darsh. I appreciate him for watching, and everybody else that watches it every week as well. But I do think I'm right about how they're just obsessed with deep shots. And now that they have Rourke back, they're going to love going deep. I'm going to keep it short and simple. Over 24.5 first half. The Elks might have found their offense, but their defense didn't really improve. It looked the exact same to me. They're still going to get beat by deep balls. And the crazy thing is the Redblacks put up that many points, Bobby, by barely even having that many long completions. They did a lot of dink and dunk the whole game, and they still put up that many points. I think that we're going to see BC catch Edmonton sleeping, get their secondary a little bit early on in the game. But I also think Edmonton right now, the punt return, the run game, and yeah, sure, Trey Ford will give him some credit as well. So I don't think that there'll be much defense in this game. And the funny thing is, it's the lowest total, right? 53.5, 51.5, and 50.5. I'm going to go over 24.5 first half. Look for some action early. And we always use that, fat and sassy claim here. We'll see how Edmonton's feeling after their first win. What was that, in June or July? In the last 2 or 3 seasons or something like that. So
I think the last 4 seasons, they haven't won a game.
So they'll be feeling
July.
pretty good about themselves. So I'll look for points from both teams early on. You want to talk about betting overs and just cheering for both teams? I think this is a good game to do so. So we have 3 games that could definitely see putting points on the board, but I'm actually going to choose the last game of the week 6, Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, first half over 24.5. All right, guys, that will do it for the show. We'll update a lot more throughout the week as well. Here, you guys can follow us on X. Follow Bobby at Mr. Surrey Jack, myself at McInnis Picks, and we'll get much more tweeted out throughout the week. I'm sure Bobby always tweets out his picks. I'm tweeting out a ton of free picks, and as you can see below the screen, CFL 100, guys, expires Tuesday night at midnight. Get every single play I release. We're feeling good. 5-1 in week 5. Let's keep rolling into week 6. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. CFL Betting Blueprint.